Hey, welcome. My name is Dr. John Fisher. Welcome to Criminal Justice in a Nutshell. This is my video series, and this series is going to be attached to research in the criminal justice class with Ashford University's graduate program. And what I'm planning on doing is at the end of each week, I'm going to make a video. And I'm going to talk to you guys about what we've just been discussing and what's coming up. This past week, we talked about evidence and journaling. The first type of evidence was empirical evidence, and all of you guys linked empirical evidence to quantitative research. The other type of evidence that we've discussed this week is anecdotal, and you have linked all of that. All of you have linked that to the research of qualitative research. If you've read any of my research, most of it is qualitative and anecdotal. I prefer qualitative research over anything else because it allows you to understand where people are coming from. You know, one of the research themes that I have right now is why people join hate groups and why people resort to extremism and why they are involved in extremism and polarization and all of those things that attach themselves to what we hear about in the media today. And why do people make those decisions and those choices? So I like the qualitative aspects of anecdotal evidence because it allows me to dig deeper than just the numbers. I can sit there and tell you all day long that there are 1,100 hate groups in the country this year. In accordance with the Southern Poverty Law Center, the number of hate groups has gone up or gone down based upon who the president is. Okay? Believe it or not, when President Obama was president, the number of hate groups went down, while the number of militia groups went up. Now that President Trump is in office, has been in office for 2 years, we're noticing that the trend of hate groups is going up, and the number of militias going down. A lot of people would like to link that to President Trump being the president, and he's just hate-filled and he just hates everybody. But we found the same things happening when President Bush was president. And we saw the same trends when President Clinton was president, where the number of hate groups went down, but the number of militia groups went up. Because when we have a Democrat as president, what we're finding, or what I'm finding, is that the people are afraid that they're going to lose their Second Amendment rights to keep and bear arms. So they form the militia groups so that they can protect their right to keep and bear arms. When a Republican is president, they're not worried about losing their guns, and people form hate groups, and it's just a common secular trend that we see since the John Birch Society, back when Eisenhower was president. And depending on whether it is a Republican president or a Democratic president will determine on how those things go about. But anyway, that's anecdotal and empirical evidence. They are extremely important while you're doing research. Okay? And they both have their place in research based upon what you're wanting to do. The other thing that we discussed this week is journaling. And journaling is important in research because, like anything, you need to practice. If you want to become Tom Brady, you have to practice being a football player, and you have to practice being a quarterback. If you want to be a great tennis player, you have to practice in tennis. If you want to be a writer, you have to practice writing. And the best and easiest way to do that is through journaling. Even though this is the only week that you're going to have to provide a journal entry or to talk about journaling, I recommend, I challenge you to, if you haven't already done so, to start a journal on your research and your writing, because it's important to do so. You need to be able to write, and you need to improve your writing. And there's a book, and it eludes my memory right now, but it's called Stretching with Journaling. And I don't remember it, the Jane something, I don't remember her last name. but it's a good book, and it talks about journaling and how journaling is important, because as you're going through and you're doing your research and you're reading articles and you're learning about your topic of discussion, you can write down your thoughts. You write them down in a journal. And it's also like keeping notes. Okay, this is what I learned in this article about hate groups, or whatever you're researching on this term. And then you keep your notes in there, and then when it comes time to actually write, you don't have the sources next to you. You've got your journal, and then you can take what you've written in your journal and what you've learned and you've put in your journal. You can turn around and you can use it as a way to write and as notes for your writing. And this way, it'll also keep your similarity rating down. Because as you know, plagiarism is a big deal here at Ashford. And if you're busted plagiarizing, you could get kicked out of school. You'll get a 0. I'll give you a 0. First time I catch you cheating or plagiarizing. And how I do this is I use Turnitin because, well, I use Turnitin and Grammarly. I use Turnitin to check plagiarism because that's what Ashford University supplies. But what I have found is that, some of these earlier papers that you guys are going to be writing for me, the similarity rates are going to be higher because you're using the same sources as everybody else. You use the same title as everybody else, and a lot of the information becomes the same. Even if you're not word for word plagiarizing, your reference list alone will increase your similarity rate. So I also use Grammarly. And if I get a really high Turnitin rating, I'll run your paper through Grammarly and I'll check the similarity plagiarism rating there as well. If it comes in under 10%, I'll ignore it. I might give you a comment and say, hey, your similarity rating in Turnitin is way too high and it's caused because of this. If Grammarly comes in and says that you are high and your similarity rating is high, I'm going to, the first time, I'm going to send it back to you with the Turnitin the Turnitin report, and I'm going to say this is plagiarized, fix it, send it back to me and I'll regrade it. The second time I catch you cheating or catch you plagiarizing, I'm going to give you a 0. The third time I catch you plagiarizing, I'm going to turn it into the school. And then you will face disciplinary actions. Writing in our world, writing is important, and originality is important. Okay, you are master's degree students. I don't expect you to regurgitate what I say or what the authors say in the journals and the sources that you're going to find. I don't want you to regurgitate what we say. What I want you to do is to take what we have said, take what we're trying to teach you, reformulate it, reformat it, and represent it in your words, in your package. You are scholars. You're already scholars with your bachelor's degree. You're trying to become academics. And as an academic, your job is to create and build your own voice. And through the master's degree program is how you create your voice. Okay, so what's coming up next week, starting tomorrow, will be the literature review. And we're going to go over and we're going to review the literature review. One of the things that is not discussed in my lecture, and it's not discussed in any of the sources, is maintaining and keeping an annotated bibliography. I don't know how many of you plan on going on to get your PhD, where you'll have to write a dissertation, or if you have chosen the course-based program or the thesis-based program here at Ashford. If you're going to need to create a database of articles that revolve around the subject of your passion. And that's one of the things that's also important about research and conducting research, is that you work on a program, you work on a topic that you're passionate about, that you like, and that you want to follow up on research. So in the process of doing that, I recommend that you keep and maintain an annotated bibliography. Every time you read a chapter in a book, or you read a journal article, or even a newspaper article, or an article that's not peer reviewed, like some of the articles I'm going to be sharing from me, they're not they're not peer-reviewed, but they are published on the internet. They've been read by hundreds of people. They've been cited by people. They're just not peer-reviewed work. I'm working on getting that done as well. There's some, oh, never mind, I don't need to go into all that. But anyway, you want to keep an annotated bibliography. Everything that you read, you put down the APA 6th edition citation, and then you make an annotation about it. You tell us what you've learned in this paper, or you tell yourself, you know, who wrote the paper? Was the paper funded by anybody? What were the major results? What was the methodologies? You know, what was there? Was it qualitative, quantitative? Did they use empirical or anecdotal evidence? Was there other forms of evidence? Was there, what kind of survey tool did they use? What kind of theory was used? Was it grounded theory? Was it a narrative? You know, what kind of paper, research paper was? And you put all of this stuff into your annotation. And then again, later down the road, when you're writing on this particular topic, you can refer back to that. And then it's in your words. It's not in their words. It's not in the words of the author. It's in your words. And then you can just write it into the paper and the research that you're doing. Again, what that's going to do is lower your similarity rate, and you're not going to be accused of plagiarism by me or by anybody, because your work is yours and yours alone. Okay, so that's this week in a nutshell, and I really do hope that you've enjoyed the tree in the background. I'm filming today from the Holiday KOA campground in Silver City, New Mexico. I'll be going back to Texas next week, and I will bring you more videos. Next week's video will also be from here in Silver City, but after that, you know, I'll be bringing you videos from across the state of Texas. So if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, just hit the reply button downstairs, you know, right underneath. Also, Ashford does require all of our videos, and I should have probably started with this, but they require closed captioning. Right down here on the bottom of the screen, there should be a little square with a CC in it. If you push that button, you can get closed captioning. Okay, so I will see you next week. I hope I will see you in the forums, but I'll see you next week in another video. Thank you.